Hi, everybody. It's Friday. It is. I just looked at the date, and I'm going to check it again. It's Friday, May 15th. I need to remind myself of that every now and then. And I'm David Gordon, and we're here with Matt Doyle.
Hello!
Matt was doing...
From my car.
I love the aesthetic.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's the most realistic Zoom background I've ever seen.
Truly. I have been lucky enough to get a negative test result finally with COVID, and I decided to use the moment to go visit my family since I have antibodies and a negative test, and I wanted to go see my parents since we don't know, if this comes back and this and that, and they have the worst internet in the world. And so I drove down the block, and now I'm in my car and using my LTE and making it happen.
Well, so you were in company when all of this shut down.
Yeah.
Were you sick? Like, when did you get sick?
So we think now that my partner Max actually got sick in February, and that's when it was starting to go around the cast of Moulin Rouge. And I don't know how public they've been with this, but I would say about 23 people in that cast ended up with COVID.
Wow.
And yeah, so I tested when Max tested right after we went into the shutdown, because another cast member tested positive. It was the first positive test in Moulin Rouge, and since I'd been exposed to Max, decided to get tested as well. And luckily, no one in the company cast has gotten sick, which is, thank God that it didn't pass.
In front of me.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But Max and I just holed up at home, and we decided to go on to our own lockdown. And it took a long time to get a negative test, but we were hit really, really mild. Max got it the worst. When he was sick, had kind of a bad flu, and I got a very, very light case of it, just kind of a mild cough, which is daunting to me because there are some people like my friend Nick Cordero that are hit so hard and seem like the healthiest guys in the world, and then there are other people that are older and have ailments that I know that it barely hits them, like myself. And it's such a strange disease that we still know so little about.
Yeah. Tell me about what the testing process was like. And I should say before we get into anything, if you have questions for Matt about this subject, about Broadway, about what it's like to sing Not Getting Married today, pop them in the comments. We'll get to it. Yeah, so tell me about getting tested, if you're willing to discuss it.
Yeah, absolutely. The test is a very uncomfortable experience. If you've ever had a classic vocal cord scope, it's what they do. They go up through your nose and then back down through the soft palate, and that's what they do. They kind of jam it up there and all the way through. It's like getting pasta caught in your nose or something. And but it's unpleasant for a second. And the first time I got tested, it actually took almost 2 weeks to get the results. Wow. And now it's within 24 hours. Yeah. So I've been really lucky. My general physician that I've been seeing for over 10 years, her name is Karen Thornton, was doing the tests. So I had access to the tests just readily available, and was so fortunate with that because, I've been a patient of hers so long, and she was able to provide them due to my exposure. Right. And now is providing them to everyone.
Did you end up going for an antibody test, or are you just taking it for granted?
I did. Max tested really high for antibodies. He had a much rougher case than I did, and I actually tested pretty low for antibodies, and just barely. You have to have a level of 15 to be positive for antibodies, and I'm actually right under that. But
oh, wow.
So yeah, it's very bizarre, and that's why I keep telling everyone, I'm taking advantage of this moment now. I'm negative, and I'm negative as of May 9th. So we went to see our parents, but we're going right back home after this and going back into quarantine, essentially, because there's still so little that we know about this. And so we're just trying to be cautious,
Yeah, and the antibody test, I guess, is just a blood draw, I've heard.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, we're doing that on Monday just to see.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think people will be shocked once the antibody testing is wider and more people are able to get it. I think a lot of people are going to be shocked to see that they had it.
Yeah. On a much lighter note,
yes. Yes.
How long did it take you to memorize "Not Getting Married Today"?
Well, Marianne Elliott actually insisted that I go in for Paul originally when she was auditioning. She's a friend of mine, and Marianne's a little resistant towards working with friends because we became rather close after Warhorse, and so she reached out and she said, "Your name keeps coming up on all the lists. I would like to see you for Paul if you're interested." And I said, "Well, yeah." I don't really see myself as a Paul. I was like, you know that I have like a panic attack disorder and everything. I really relate to Jamie, and she was like, just come in for Paul, come in for Paul. And so I went in for Paul, and within 30 seconds, she was like, "Oh, shit." She was like, excuse my language. She was like, you are a Jamie. And I had to learn Getting Married on the spot in the room because I had never taken the time to learn it. And over the years, it was not a song that I expected to be singing.
Right.
And she decided to then call me back, and I thought I was going to have like a week to learn Getting Married, but she gave me 24 hours to learn the song. And I actually skipped the opening of Moulin Rouge. My partner is in Moulin Rouge, and stayed home drilling the song until about 4 a.m. and tears in my eyes, and went in the next day and just spat it out. So I guess I learned the song in 24 hours, but then I took the next 5 months to really drill it and make sure that it was second nature.
And that's without even Sondheim yelling at you that the phrasing is incorrect or something.
Exactly. And that was it really was a whole new challenge to get into the room. You think you know something just because you've memorized the notes and the words, but he is so specific with where he's placed the phrases and how most of the phrases start in the middle of a verse. So, part of me is everybody there, because if everybody's there, all of the pauses are actually within the actual verse, and so the speed of it is even more daunting once you get into breaking it down.
Tell me about working your way up to the tempo that is written. Like, did you start out at like, "Pardon me, is everybody there? Because if everybody's there, I would like." Did you start
Absolutely
there and work your way up?
The biggest thing was, it sounds so simple and obvious to say that you break down every single thought of a song, but I think what shocked me when I was learning the song was learning it with Marianne, because she was so much more meticulous about the thoughts than I think any director has been in the past, and really wanted to make sure every single trigger word was heard and acted on. And I mean, that's unbelievable. When you really break it down, it's just the first phrase alone. "Part of me is everybody there. New thought, because if everybody's there, new thought. I want to thank you all for coming to the wedding. New thought. I'd appreciate your going even more. New thought." And she had me break it down that slowly every single day, and she would just yell if she saw any single thought missed. And then slowly but surely it just becomes second nature, and you're able to speed it up a little bit more and get to tempo. And then by the end, I was telling Joel, "Let's take it up 2 more beats, let's go." And we finally found the right place where it was clear enough for the audience, but satisfying enough for the speed test of it.
I'm gonna pop a question from a viewer. Like, what is it like singing that song?
Unbelievable. I mean, the first time I did it, I was absolutely terrified. I think my first preview performance was probably my worst performance ever, just because I walked out and I said to my manager afterwards, she was like, "How did it go?" I was like, it was dry mouth paralysis, if I could describe it. It was just like, just get through it. And my mouth went so dry, and I think I was so blown away that I was standing on a Broadway stage delivering that song, this classic and this iconic song. And, the opportunity of it was the kid in me kind of took over and was like, "I can't believe this is happening." But from there, it just became the most thrilling experience. By the second night, I was like, all right, get over that, move on. And it was every single night out of those 9 shows was so thrilling, because you discover something new every time with a song like that. There's just a wealth of opportunity and material. So I was so excited within those previews because I felt like there was a new beat and a new moment every night, and you learn from the audience with comedy like that and with material like that, because it's all about the response and where something lands and how the audience receives it if you deliver it a different way or try it a different way. So I think out of any song I've ever delivered in a show or on Broadway, it was thrilling is the word. And it's actually the most overwhelming thing about doing this piece was Sondheim coming up to me after the first show and just putting his hand on my shoulder and saying, thrilling, thrilling. So I will remember that for the rest of my life.
That's quite a compliment coming from someone who's so meticulous with his music.
Yes. He loved this production so much, and that's why we got to bring it back to him on the other side of this. Is it's a really, really, really special production, and I don't think anyone, to give credit where credit's due, I don't think anyone's staged getting married the way that Marianne has. It's just hilarious and brilliant, and she makes the priest work in a way that no one else has without spoiling it.
You were supposed to see it the day before Sondheim's birthday. I'm so mad. Anyway.
I know. Oh, trust me. I feel you.
Yeah, I know. I can't imagine what you guys are going through. How present was Sondheim in the rehearsal room, and did he really was he meticulous in his note giving too?
Yeah, absolutely. Sondheim was pretty present. He was in and out a lot. He had a foot injury at the time, so he wasn't there as much as he was planning on being there, but we sent him videos a lot too, so we would get notes even when we didn't know that we were being noted. And but he was appropriately meticulous. He trusts Marianne Elliott in such a profound way because she's so meticulous herself, and a director that cares so deeply about text and about honesty that he's able to hand over his very, very meticulous text. And I would say that there were notes that I didn't even expect from Sondheim. A lot of them came in the scenes because he cares so deeply about the writing of the scenes as well. Yeah. And one of the most beautiful notes that he just kept on giving me was at the very end of that scene. There's just a great moment of elation where Amy, now Jamie, realizes that he really is getting married and he is the next bride. And he was like, he said, if you don't yell that, if you don't scream that with pure joy and realize it in the moment, then I'll be so upset. And I was like, okay, yes, sir.
I like the phrasing of that. It's like, if you don't do this, I will be upset.
Yes, he was like, you have to give me that. It's my favorite line. It's my favorite line in the scene. And I was like, I will, I promise. And so, of course, the next night, I was like, I'm the next bride. I just yelled it at the top of my lungs. And Marianne was like, that was it. Maybe take it down a notch.
Marianne is a genius.
Oh, absolutely. And she's also just everyone's best friend in a not an insincere way. She knows how to talk to actors, and she knows how to relate to them and communicate with them and understand them, and yet still be a leader. And it's just such a fine balance, and she's the best.
Your first show with her was Warhorse here at Lincoln Center.
Yeah.
Right? What was that?
Yeah, I think it was incredible. On probably, out of 35 guys in that cast at the time, there was maybe one other openly gay cast member, and I think Marianne maybe wanted like her gay mate of the run, and she sat down next to me in the first week, and she was like, "Will you be my mate?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And we were kind of attached at the hip throughout that whole process and got to know each other really well. But I've just been so blown away by how her career has blossomed since then, and also just watching her work since then. You think you know someone and you spend evenings with them and share stories with them, and then you see their work and their genius, and it's almost intimidating afterwards. I remember after seeing Curious Incident, just trying to have a drink with her afterwards, and she's like, "You're being weird," and I was like, I'm just blown away. I don't know what to say. You know, it's like recognizing that your friend is like truly a genius. You know?
I never know what to say in situations like that. Like
Yeah.
I've always wanted to talk to her. Like I've always wanted to interview her, but just to like pick her brain and like discuss theater. Because I saw
Yeah.
her in America twice, the full thing.
Yeah.
Uh, and that might not be a large number, but it's a 7-hour experience, so it's a lot of hours in the theater. And just like thinking of
Right.
she like made that play come alive in a way
Yeah.
that I just didn't expect.
Well, it's like what she's done with Company. I just, you know, there are things. What the gender swap, I think, what was so unbelievable about it is the opportunity for um, moments that I didn't even realize were in the text, you know, especially within the scene between Bobby and Jamie now, that in the original production, it's a man proposing to a woman and doing it out of desperation, and it's a little uncomfortable. It maybe hasn't aged that well, but to see a woman proposing to her gay best friend out of desperation and out of confusion, and maybe trying to figure it out on a level of convenience so that she isn't alone, and that it's this modern solution to her problem is fascinating and complex and heartbreaking in its own right. And I think that's what just Marianne's opened up very smartly and very carefully and solved throughout the whole show without changing, you know, any of the text. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I want to pop in a question from a viewer. If you and Max could play opposite in any show, what show would it be? Gender swapped or not?
Oh
Do
God.
you think about that? Like, do you think
Oh
about
no, never. I'll try and answer the question just because I feel like it deserves an answer, but I would be mortified to
really?
perform with Max. Max and I make each other laugh too hard. I don't think we'd be able to get through a scene together. We both respect each other's talents like immensely, but the idea of performing together, I think we would just not be able to take each other seriously. He's my escape from all of it at the end of the day. Is I can relate to him and talk to him, but I don't know if sharing a stage with him is the most comfortable experience. I don't know. We'd probably Max is such a classic song and dance man. I would need him to be featured properly, even though I am not. So I would want to see Max like for me, it's about making sure Max gets his moment soon, and I would love to see him do something like Singing in the Rain. So maybe
Yeah.
I could be in Singing in the Rain somehow opposite him.
Do you guys like talk shop at home, or is like when the second you go in through the door, like is that a no work zone?
Yeah, we do and we don't. I mean, I think we're able to vent to one another and talk to one another about just the ups and downs of the business, and which all seems so petty right now,
Right.
looking back on any argument we had over it. And we're also able to relate to one another in terms of, you know, it's hard to explain to someone in the business just a backstage situation, even a funny backstage
Yeah.
situation, because they don't have the context. So I think it's why so many actors do end up together, is that there is that connection and understanding. But in general, even when we like start singing together in the apartment, we usually laugh or like stop immediately, you know, like we try to not let that be the relationship. We're very blunt with each other. I'm Max is like this big, ridiculous, silly goober that keeps me up, and I think I ground him in reality a little bit and bring him back down. I hate to be the negative force, but I know that I am. But I we do balance each other out.
I wanna talk about this show, this dance show that you did. Uh,
Yeah,
Freddie Falls in Love.
yeah,
I keep every time I try to. I'm glad I said that title right, because I always think of a different title that has the word Freddie in it.
yeah,
And a Tom Green movie from a long time ago. Uh, I love that show. Uh,
yeah.
wish it was around longer so more people could get to see it.
It was really lovely. And, you know, Al Blackstone, the choreographer, he's talk about a song and dance man. He's so inspired by classic Broadway and Fosse and jazz that we haven't seen on stage in a long time. And I'm so moved by his choreography because he wanted to create a piece that had a really strong and simple and accessible narrative, and also one that made people feel good and brought a smile to people's faces, and something that would be delightful to watch, especially at a venue like the Joyce. It's a much more commercial piece, and Melanie Moore is just so stunning, and the dancers in that production were amazing. And you know, the first time he reached out to me, I I thought he was joking when I got an email about starring in a dance show because I can barely step touch. And I was in shock at first. And then he was like, no, I just need you to stand there and react. And I was like, great. If I get to stand there and watch Melanie Moore for an hour and a half, done.
Yeah. What are some of the roles that you wish that you've done already that you wish you could do again?
You know, I was thinking about that the other day because somebody asked if I could do Elder Price again, would I? And I was like, I don't think I could sing it. That was a 25-year-old voice. My God, it was like the hardest vocal track ever. If there's a role that I could do again, and I know this might shock some people, but I have been the champion of Heart of Rock and Roll for the longest time.
Oh,
It's the Huey Lewis jukebox musical,
that's
and the thing about it that just like the reason why I think it's so great was most people that came to see it were shocked at how delightful it actually was, because you hear jukebox musical and you get really nervous, especially when it's a booked one and not a bio one. And the whole idea behind it and what Gordon Greenberg and Tyler Mitchell and Jonathan Abrams, the whole team, did so well was they wanted to create Ferris Bueller's Day Off with Huey Lewis tunes, and something that captured that same like just irresistible joy and energy. And I felt like they did it. And I mean, it was a musical where there literally ended up being a step routine on bubble wrap. Like it was ridiculous. It had that spirit of like Big and of Ferris Bueller's Day Off and just these great kind of John Hughes 80s films that you remember and love so much and can't describe why they're good because there's so many odd elements to them, but it just all worked and it had this wonderful bubbly energy. And I don't know, maybe after a pandemic situation and what we're going through, the world will just need something ridiculous to laugh and smile at.
I was gonna say there was talk that it was going to come in to New York.
Yeah. I mean, they were planning on bringing it in this year, and just a few plans fell through. But I know that they're still working on it, and Huey is still absolutely behind it. And it's what was amazing about it too was the way they were able to take his songs and make them feel like it was an original score. They took a lot of songs that maybe you didn't necessarily know, they weren't just the Huey Lewis hits, and Brian Yusufer, the arranger and orchestrator on it, managed to make them sound almost as if they were written for the show. Nothing felt like kind of pigeonholed into it, and it was great. They built a structure and a narrative, and it was just so endearing and lovely and sweet. So, and I had so much fun singing that music. I mean, my God, getting to just belt out the power of love was the best.
Our friend Gabby saw it in San Fran.
Oh yeah, out in San Diego. Yes, it's fantastic.
Yeah, San Diego. Matt, thank you so much for your time.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for talking to me. I hope we get through this, and I'm just, for everyone watching, it's unbelievable that we're collectively going through something right now and have such a overwhelming common enemy. But you know, I do think we're going to get to the other side of this and be stronger for it. And I'm just so grateful for people supporting theater right now and supporting theater artists. And we just have to breathe and take it one day at a time.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys are better.
Yes, we are healthy and just
goodness,
getting through.
Yeah. Would you give a wave to my wife and our friend Gabby, who is a huge fan of yours?
Yes. Hi, Gabby. Hello. What's your wife's name?
Felicia.
Hi, Felicia. How are you?
It's her 30th birthday tomorrow, and I was going to do this. Happy birthday, honey. I love you. She's sitting right next to me.
Oh, happy birthday.
We are back on Sunday afternoon with Kiala Settle to discuss the
Woo!
company benefit. So that's Sunday at 5. Matt, thank you so much for everything. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Everybody, take
Appreciate
care.
you having me.
Of course. Bye.
Bye.